Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello,
Alex, Adam,
Lachlan.
thank you. We are here with our first week of the Whisky Wanderers Festival for June. We are very excited to be all together in the same room for this as well.
Yeah, at first, it's just how the cards fell, really.
Yeah.
So I thought may as well get all together, get in the Whisky Wanderers spirit, and enjoy some good drams.
Exactly.
Cheers, yeah. Well, just wait for a few people to jump into the chat.
Absolutely.
If we're unclear or it's a bit muted, let us know in some comments. Hopefully, you can hear us pretty well.
Yeah. This is the first for us as well. So these are the whiskies. Well, 4 of the 5 are the whiskies that will be released this Friday at midday AEST for the first round of Whisky Wanderers releases. So I'm going to chat a bit about the Whisky Wanderers Festival.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've done quite a few videos on it, Adam and I. We are really excited about Whisky Wanderers. The first expression of this festival by the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. As you know, previously the society has celebrated the other festivals around Scotland. You know, the Isla Festival, Spirit of Speyside, Highlands, etc. But this time it's just all about celebrating, I guess, just whiskey. The flavor profiles that can be expressed from distilleries that we don't see very frequently, cask types we don't see very frequently, and this is what this is all about. And in front of us right now, I mean, I'm seeing a couple of things I'm personally really excited by. One distillery I think most people will be joining sick of hearing me talk about. So.
but it may be in a very different form. And I think, as Lockie was saying, you know, it's sort of festivals and whiskey have almost morphed from that. The original, well, when the society's history of it, the original sort of face shield was the first. There was only one bottling, back 2013. And it was very to type, you know, it was what you'd expect from the festival that year. And then it's sort of morphed over time to be, we added some festivals like Lowland Festival, Campbelltown Malts, and it went from being of type in those regions to almost being the cool expressions from those regions, like, you know, weird cask types from Isla instead of your more standard clean bourbon Isla that the first couple were. And now we've almost gone even further into it should just be about the whiskey, and it should be about those interesting flavors, things you wouldn't find in an original bottling or distillery bottling, just something that makes you think and talk about flavor.
And I was saying to Adam before that the way that these 3 tasting packs that he's bracketed together are really well structured. You know, this one here is called Off the Beaten Track. So, you know, a couple of distilleries we might not see as frequently, or spirits we don't see frequently, or a heresy blended malt. And then the next one, what was the name of it again? Sorry, I forgot. The
Pathless Trodden.
Pathless Trodden. Again, distilleries don't see as often, and then well worth the wait. Some older stock distilleries people are looking for. Like your 12s.
That tasting pack did fly off the virtual shelves, which is not surprising. But again, well worth the wait, you know, as the name implies.
Exactly. I mean, that 12 is something that is absolutely spectacular. We tasted it last week. Absolutely sensational.
And a milestone 35 as well.
Well, I mean, both of those won a gold, the 12 double gold in the International Spirits Award in San Francisco, I believe. Just early this year, and the 35 won single gold. You know, it's fantastic. David and Carolyn Taylor, great to see you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
And just to conclude that thought process too, sorry, Ads, it's just, I love the pack creation too, because sort of all of them had this really good narrative about them. You know, it doesn't matter if you missed out on the final pack, well worth the wait pack, because there's little treats and little awesome bits in each of the packs, which will, I think, no matter why the reason is, whether it's old in a form you haven't had it in, or whether it's random distillery, or whether it's a cool cask type, you know, there's something a bit cool and different in all the 3 packs.
Yeah, and I think it's this year we are returning to the single cask, you know, predominantly. Cask strength single cask from that rare release small batch single malt evolution. And we just felt this was the best way to give everyone a chance to try everything. You know, not everyone's going to be able to come to the big festival events in Melbourne and Sydney, and that's fine. We've got tasting events all over the country though, so there's still plenty of opportunity to try them. But speaking of single cask, let's try something that's not single cask.
Yeah.
So our first dram of the night is Wandering Alchemy, the only Heresy release, a small batch blended Scotch, which combines whiskies from all 5 regions.
Yeah,
from all 5 regions.
I love the intent behind this whiskey. The intent behind this whiskey was to I guess hark back to the blended whiskies of old school Scotch whiskey. You know, saline, sherry, smoky, just a little bit of everything for everyone. You know,
absolutely. The thing that I love about this, so I've had, this is the only one I've had before. I've got to tell this story just very quickly on indulgence, because I had it with Bailey and he gave me it blind, and so I hadn't seen the tasting notes, hadn't seen the bottle, and the first thing I said on the nose was, you know, oh, well, that's old. Okay, that's an older bottling. It's got like not old bottle effect, but it just feels like it's had that mellowing time, that gentle time. And
turns out it's
not. But now reading the notes for the first time, panel said the same thing, which is very, very cool. And it's the old style comment you just made. You know, it's got those elements that we sometimes pull out of that, you know, time gone by way of making whiskey, which is really cool that we can still blend together that flavour.
Yeah. It's interesting you should mention that that was your first experience with that. I mean, Shane from Whiskey and Element, when he first tasted this just last week, he pretty much just said, oh, this is straight away, it's like a sort of Isla malt. You know, this could be, it's a 5-region blend, but this could be an island or
a Campbelltown
sort of thing. And like, I'm with him, but also it's not entirely. There's definitely notes of the other regions in there. There's the fruitiness, it's all there, but it's that first perception sort of thing.
It's also got the fruit that that you expect of some of the other regions that get brought in, but it is just so well constructed.
It is well layered, nothing sort of conflicting with another component of it. It's not that disjointed. You know, sometimes disjointed's great. You get, yes, it's peaty, and yes, it's sherry, and they're a little bit separate. You're enjoying both, but no, well integrated for sure.
And just for those who are joining us now, we are tasting the first one, the Wandering Alchemy, which is the only bottle that has a complete picture label this year. Another thing to notice is that none of this year's festival releases have the fancy picture labels. They're just straight up society labels with a little Wandering Whisky Wanderer stamp on there. You know,
just representative of what we do.
It's just good spirit. You know, it doesn't matter what the outside looks like. It's the spirit in the glass. So have you guys had a taste yet?
I haven't. I'm about to. I'm going.
Wow. Bottle,
I reckon I would have even said the older comment on the palate as well, to be honest. I didn't on the day when I was talking about that, but it is, it does have that like sort of slightly older, oaky, herbal thing going on about it.
Yeah.
I really rate that.
It's very reminiscent to me of late 80s, early 90s Johnny Walker.
Could not agree more,
Black Label specifically.
Yeah, with that touch of smoke,
Yeah, and then also some of the older Campbelltowns that I have tasted, a particular distillery that personally I prefer the younger spirit, but that softer, subtle kind of fruit that comes out, but it's still got that coke fire, you know, that really industrial, not coal fire, not, you know,
absolutely right.
Yeah.
And then you go to somewhere else in it too, like the integration point, it being so well integrated. I think little bits of it pop out at different times. Like I'm now getting an insane weight of spirit, almost like a meteor, like an older, even Longmorn Mortlark kind of approach to the spirit way.
Mortlark's a good, that's a good one. I think I can definitely see, look, if you're a fan of your peated whiskey, if you're a fan of like your sort of Distillery 149 and your 90 degrees, I think you cannot go wrong with this one, to be honest. And it's cast strength like 58.4%.
Yeah.
So it's a Heresy release. It's a blended Scotch, but it is bottled at cast strength.
It's one of the very few that are.
It is. And if you are watching along tonight, which you know you are if you're seeing this, then scan the QR code and you can get early access to. We've got a handful of each of the bottlings that we're tasting tonight on sale just for tonight, and then the rest will be on sale on Friday. So scan a QR code.
God, it's been a good batch recently, hasn't it? I'm just thinking back to like Shimmering Silk, was solid.
Fantastic.
This is great. Like we're really on a solid blending line at the moment.
Dunwich Nougat was
great.
You
love Dunwich Nougat.
Yeah, it is still one of the best expressions
I
of
almost
spirit to oak.
messaged you the other day because I had it at home and I was like, I kind of now get what you're talking about. Like when you said it's one of your favourites, I'm like, God, it's banging tonight.
Like it is one. Yeah, it's absolutely. But to that point where I find that this is This is what it's bourbon barrels, it's Oloroso, it's
Yep.
PX, it's
Yeah.
HGMC hogsheads.
It's a
Every
special.
time I taste it, I get a different
Yeah,
taste
yeah,
coming
100%.
to the front.
Yeah.
Just recently, when I've still got the HGMC just sitting on my palate, that nutty walnut, hazelnut just sitting there alongside that minerally, slaty Island or Isla or Campbelltown style.
100%.
Um,
It's sorry, I was always talking about wine, right? Like, because I've been harping on about wine, but it's that thing where just the blend's coming back, because when you have that gap, like, or even just something you want to create this different rounding out of it, an element, like I'm getting all of that lovely like oiliness now, which you might not, I mean, you're not going to necessarily see that on a 10-year-old bourbon Speyside, right? But then when you do a really beautiful blending job, you kind of have that fresh fruit plus this oily spirit. It's doing really cool things in this blend.
Well, just on that, I mean, the slickness. I've had one sip, a few minutes ago, and I'm still getting just lingering black olive and a little bit of oiliness on my throat. Like it's a thick dram. Yeah, it's a fantastic one. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It doesn't matter if it's a blend or a small batch single malt or a single cask. If it tastes good, it tastes good. This tastes so good.
Actually, to add to both of your points, I mean,
Please.
Blended whiskey has always been king as far as Scotch whiskey is concerned. From its rise to power in the last 120 odd years, it has absolutely been the king. But it's only in the last 40 years that it's fallen off that pedestal, and purely down to marketing.
Yep.
Doesn't mean the whiskey's changed.
Correct.
It's purely our perceptions.
No, of course.
So while we are typically a single malt whiskey company, we absolutely love our blends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's just also so much education around whiskey as well that people are, they want to know about it. They want to know more, and that sort of unravels more about them as well.
Spot on.
I mean, I'll be the first to say one of my favorite whiskeys still to this day, as I've told you before, is still a Johnny Walker.
Yeah.
Johnny Walker Black Label, bottled in the 1960s. Bottled in the 1960s in Geelong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's even more specific. There you go.
Yeah.
It's got a question from David Carroll Taylor. What's the story about the name of the whiskey? Well, it sort of just harks back to that whole Whisky Wanderers Festival vibe, which is just wandering into new flavors, not worrying about their, where they came from, so forth.
And if I could add to that, Ads too.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a lovely. I reckon it's a great question, guys, because I think it's a lovely connection between that like new style of wandering, as in flavor exploration that Ads is talking about, but then also like the fact that OG whiskey, when we're talking before real legal distillation, was on these like portable stills in the Highlands. People would literally pick the whole setup up and move it around and make it on different hilltops to avoid taxman, all this kind of thing. So it's like it's like the start of it and where we are now in kind of one phrase. So I don't know what the marketing department was paid for that, but well done, guys. Like it's a nice link.
It fits in nicely, and I think you can definitely say blending a spirit from 5 regions together is a bit of alchemy.
Yes,
to get this result as well, from a bit of a marketing perspective as well. But you know what? It makes sense.
I mean, a lot of people could think blending is quite easy. You take a little bit of that, take a little bit of that. It's going to be great.
Absolutely not.
Having done some blending, and I'm going to be honest with you, not successfully.
And this is Auckland what, which
I've had some wins and some severe losses, but I mean, blending is a tough job, and distilling is a tough gig as well. But some of the distillers I know, who are some of the best distillers, especially in this country, they just call themselves glorified copper cleaners. But blending's a really tough job.
That's right. That's actually a really good point, because as we see the change in whiskey, we see this like automation of distilleries and different things to do with like the distillation process. I don't agree with this, but to an extent can be done on the numbers. Blending cannot, because we know what casks do. So if you just said, I'll take 32.5% of this bourbon cask and put it into, with 22.9% of a sherry cask and fill out the rest with X, it might be so different, correct? So you have to do it on taste.
It might have come from a different distillery, therefore the result will be entirely different.
Exactly. So you're going for this like flavor profile and marriage that you just can't get. I mean, maybe in the future will have nailed down compounds and can do it, but you need your master blenders to do it at the moment to go, it tastes exactly like the one I had last month or last week.
No, it also brings into the fact that whiskey is art, it's human touch and feel and sense, and,
it's not an exact science.
No. And the big batch blends, they will change over time because it is touch and feel and sense.
Exactly,
and so it's really incredible that we get to see something like this come together from all these 5 regions, but still be harking back to those old blends that brought us all back. It brought us all into whiskey.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, David Gilks, you put up a great comment. It's just about how it changes every sip, and the fact that it is cask strength, and I have to agree with you there. If this was 50%, it might not have hit as hard, and at the end of the day, you and Campbell would have felt the same, and that's why it is what it is.
I'm struggling not to keep going back to it. Should we move on to the next whiskey?
I think so.
I've just put water in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a tiny sip, and then we can move on.
Yeah. Or if for those who are watching, last chance, scan the QR code if you want to secure your bottle a little bit earlier. Basically tonight.
I think it's actually interesting. Fresh, couple of drops of water. Didn't have much left in the glass. I think it amplifies the fruit right up, probably subdues, or maybe even a bit of the saline, subdues the smoke a little bit, makes it a bit more of that fruit basket. So we'll come back. But do we want to kick on?
Yeah. So let's travel to Norway now.
It's not Norwegian whiskey.
Yeah, it's
don't
Norwegian
worry.
whiskey. But would you guess the name of it is Norwegian wood?
He's on fire. He's on fire.
Distillery 122.
You are on fire like a number 4 char, my friend.
Which incidentally,
this
Well,
cask has.
Should we also say Distillery 112, 122, 135?
Yes.
The
versatile.
And I think, to be honest, I'm getting it. So for those I've spoken to at events about the Lomond group of codes, so I can say that without actually naming the expression. There you go, Derbs. But it's always got the same note for me, which this one has, which is that slightly bready note. Unmistakably.
It's got that sourdough starter
100%.
to it.
100% yeasty.
Again, this is the one that I think a lot of people are sick of me talking about. I absolutely love this distillery.
Third whiskey, move on.
Alex, you want to just hold up the bottle? No, seriously, because you're close to the camera. Just so everyone knows what we're having. That's 122.75 Norwegian wood.
That's where we are, guys.
Continue telling us about what floating now.
Oh, you mentioned it.
Oh
no. Anyway, this is a funny code for me because I've always found their spirit really interesting between 112 and 122. Same still type, it's just how it's distilled. So this comes off at a heavier distillate, much weightier. It's going to be much broader.
It's a lovely sorry, the raspberry on it is so good, and it's actually like the sourdough is low. You know what I mean? Like it's one of the ones I can cope with quite happily without.
It kind of reminds me of those gummy, not Starburst, but like when you bite into those gummy sort of candies and the raspberry liquid just shoots out.
The
Starburst squirts.
Yes, that.
Sorry, any international listeners or whatever, but there's this lolly called the Starburst Squirt. Discontinued, maybe for reasons that are to do with lawsuits, which are.
I'm talking about a different one. Because the one I'm talking about, I just saw an ad.
I think it's a Haribo one.
Anyway.
But no, you're dead right. It's that confectionery style of a raspberry filling. Yeah, absolutely right.
I love the name Norwegian wood because it does smell a little bit like walking into a silent sauna room. Like the cedar walls and
definitely that.
Definitely. But that they're.
I just assume it's a Beatles reference, right? Like, is that? But then I guess they've linked it together. I'm trying to find the Beatles in it to make the connection, but it might just be that lovely cedar wood.
It might come together in the end.
Yeah.
On the palate, I'm getting like a little bit of not as heavy as like our 128s, I think. But still like that SPC tinned peach.
Yes,
no,
absolutely.
But like
the 128s.
Yeah, but it's like tinned peach as if it was rolling down a metal, pipe or something like that.
A bit of that iron.
Yeah.
Doesn't it have a bit of that? It's very odd, and it's got because it is also like quite lactose. It's got a creaminess, a butteriness to it, but it has that absolutely underlying metallic thing.
Like that Korean yogurt soft drink kind of thing.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
God, they're so good.
Fizzy yogurt drink.
That's dead right. Get a raspberry one of them with a bit of vanilla and away we go. 100%. I think this will take water quite well. I will do that in a minute. I haven't even tasted it yet, but it's got that sort of nose that suggests
you're the water guinea pig for tonight.
I'll do the way. I always put a few drops of cracker.
I'm obsessed with this distillery, and I'm obsessed with 122s that are unpeated. Because we see so many peated 122s, but very few unpeated. I think in my time of working with the society, I've seen maybe 5.
What 122s are generally,
it's usually the 112s that are sort of that lighter, well, not peated usually, and so that was always kind of the historical comparison.
Yeah.
And then, like you say though, it got crazy because the 112 runs started to possibly have some peat, and then the 122 runs were being done unpeated, and it just all got very variable.
Well, they were always making unpeated and peated runs of both. It's just all of a sudden the opposite. They started pass panel in the opposite way.
Great point. Yeah, that's right.
And same with the 135s. We start to see both peated and unpeated pass panel.
Dead right. Actually, that's a really interesting point because for a long time, most of them probably were peated, well, the ones we saw. But yeah, the first ones were not. I think Red Carpet Welcome was like .3, and that was Charlie McLean's, whiskey nose of the year, something, and that was unpeated, older, dignified at a reasonably young age. So yeah, very versatile.
I was talking to Andrew Durbidge recently.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and he was saying that some of the original 122s that came into the country, honestly, because they were all so heavily peated and more peated than the Islers they were getting, which were 33s and 29s, and they were so
probably a couple
heavily
of unpeated 3s coming through as well.
And they were so heavily peated that people weren't willing to touch them.
I think that's very true also. Some of those really early English whiskey peated ones were so heavy on the peat that people were like, wow, this is like a new category of that non-Isla heavy
St. George's stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But the 122s that were coming through, he was saying it was back in 2012, I think he was saying. Yeah, and they did a tour with them. And no one wants to touch them.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, the story of so much in the society, like just telling people a new narrative and a new story. I feel like it used to be a lot harder, and now you introduce new cool things, and the whiskey community jump at it. And I think that's just, again, not to hark about the Whisky Wanderers concept, but I think that is this movement in whiskey, which is people are more about the explore and about the new horizons, new flavors, new techniques. Whereas for a while there, even when I first got into whiskey in the 2008s or whatever it was, people were still pretty, this is how you drink whiskey and it's the older way of doing it.
It was sticking to tradition, which is good now that people are willing to sort of open up and become more modern.
Honestly, it's one of the greater things that came out of COVID, where people were stuck at home and learning. They were they were bored at home and wanted to drink, and so they started doing virtual tastings.
Yep,
and
great point.
In just learning as much as they could about the booze that they enjoyed.
Absolutely.
Welcome, Matt Bailey, to the live stream. I'll have you know we didn't actually coordinate this. This genuinely just happened on its own.
Yeah, 100%.
But you should see what's happening under the table.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
we're
don't, because we have to change the rating on this video if we do. So keep your eyes off that. I am actually now going to do that as a perfect segue. I've been worried because I think I might have unplugged our computer. So I'm just going to duck below the camera for a minute.
On
that point, no one worry about what I'm doing to Lachlan, all right?
Wrong direction.
Whoa! Okay, we're back. Brighter. We're back after that short interlude. Okay, here we go. On that note, should we move on? Where are we at? I'm going to put a bit of water in this.
I'm going to have one more sip.
No,
you water it. We'll need after a bit of more time in glass.
Water that like
a garden. Again, if anyone is interested, we've got 5 up just for tonight, and then they won't be here tomorrow, but they will be there on Friday again, 12 p.m. with the rest of these casts.
If anyone at home is doing some order as well, just put in the chat what your thoughts are. My immediate first impression on just a couple of drops is it does amplify that sourdough bit. Brings that out into the front of it. Still lovely. Everything's still there. Raspberry's still there. Vanilla's still there. But
I'm still getting that heavy SPC tin peaches.
Yeah.
On the palate,
Again,
which I love.
Not as high as the 128s would be.
Not at all. No. That's just like sickly sweet.
But
that's millions of peaches, mate.
yeah, but that again, I'm still sitting with that cedar, that fresh cedar,
Exactly
you know,
right.
old pine flooring kind of woodiness.
Almost like that sort of inside of that, like the violin case, the really
a bit of rosin.
Yeah, exactly right. That's actually very nice. I think I prefer it without water for the sourdough element, which if you love sourdough, I'm talking to a few members about this every time we have one of a Lohmann Distillery spirit on tasting, because some people buy these for that sourdough. I think they love it. It's just and it's just what you like. And for me, it's like I love it when it's just a tiny touch and bit subdued. So for me, no water. But if you wanted to buy a Lohmann and get a bit more of that, a couple of drops of water will do you. I think on this.
Yeah, especially for some of these, they tend to have a bit of funky meatiness to it, as well as that yeasty sourdough thing.
Definitely.
So it's almost like some of these have tasted. There's some of the 112s and 122s have tasted like a prosciutto sandwich.
Yeah.
Well,
like a good old Reuben, real proper Reuben.
Yeah. In my empty glass now, I am getting more of that sourdough note.
A bit of oxidization and water and all those things that release the flavor. I think it'll come around to that, definitely.
Shall we jump along? And it's important to note.
This is not a festival one.
No, it's not a festival. So the story goes, the tale as old as time, or a couple of months ago, is that we were going to get 15 bottles of Whisky Wanderers casks, and we didn't. We only got 14. There was a shipment issue, and we were missing one that we were meant to have. So to make things even, we just put a bonus whiskey
through one in.
So this cask is actually going to be released in July our turn. So this is a bonus preview.
I'm making a lot of really weird noises on first nose tonight. Like everything's just a bit cool and interesting, which I guess is the whole point.
I feel like this is like the most spicy and dry whiskey on the nose. I reckon it's like sometimes you nose one, you're like, this isn't one. Or like when you have a spicy and sweet, you think it's peated.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. Yeah, because sometimes those heavy charred ones,
especially some of those 18s and some of the 59s can feel really
actually great call on 59. Definitely.
Like they can be really, really so spicy they feel peated.
Spot on.
Like the beneficence of these,
which is not peated at all.
Which is not peated at all.
It's definitely a little bit of salt.
It feels smoky, but it's not.
It's a great whiskey, by the way.
Great whiskey. But this is actually beautifully it's almost in a different category because it's got a bit of the spice, but it's nice and sweet.
Yeah, it's almost got a bit of not salinity, but like chlorine, like walking into
now I'm getting
into a YMCA.
As we all often do.
And cinnamon donuts.
Because that's what I'm getting.
I don't think I'm getting the cinnamon donuts yet, but
I'm getting that that was my sort of sweetness comment around it. It's very granulated sugar, a little bit of bakery.
I'm getting maple combined with chlorine.
Yeah.
I think, which is probably my version of the cinnamon dusted donuts.
Because typically when I find chlorine, what I want to see is the chicken salt chips.
Oh, yeah.
Really? You walk into a YMCA and think, wow, I want chicken salt chips.
Yeah. Do you not?
It's been a while.
I don't think I've ever walked into a YMCA. Is this something people do? I'm learning this today.
I think it was YMCA.
I haven't been to a YMCA that has a pool.
I'm just
you and your posh YMCA.
No, I think I'm talking about the Northcote Aquatic Centre. I swear it used to be YMCA like 20 years ago.
I feel like that is a real thing though. If you've grown up going to like pools, you've got to get like a really, for me, it's like salt and vinegar crisps. You've got to get a really something snack. Just remind you
a
of
little
the pool,
bucket of hot chips with chicken salt.
Exactly, that's your one.
And they're chlorine fingers.
Exactly, that's the thing. Yeah, because exactly. You don't have time to dry it out. You're just smashing some chips in your break.
This is a bit sweet on the palate, though.
The nose is sweet. I'm going to go for
I love the name Relax and Have a Cuppa because it does smell like Tetley's Australian tea,
Well, what are some of the official notes? So
it is tannic.
Garden full of Mediterranean plants, lavender, rosemary, mint, and chive, tomato sauce, garam masala, chunky onions and peppers, grilled teriyaki, chicken skewer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's good call. Well done, Pat.
Cackle of gunpowder tea leaves.
Yeah, I was going to say the tea's there.
There's the American fried onions. I can't remember the brand. It's like desiccated, dried fried onions that they add to. No, they were once. and they add them to all their casseroles and stuff. Thanksgiving. I can't remember the brand. I have a massive bag of them in my pantry at home because of the American I live with.
For your sins.
Yeah. Okay. First like bourbon barrel.
This is lovely. I think this is that thing. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a rant for 1 second about spicy and dry because
your tongue's up.
It's fair, good point. It gets this rap, and maybe not for our lovely viewers who are here because we're all about exploring flavors, but it's probably one of the, certainly globally, it's just that little bit of that underrated profile. But I think that's because some of them, if you love that really drying, like really dry white wine back of the palate thing, or even like really dry red back of the palate thing, tannic component, it puts people off. Some people off, but some of them are actually quite light on that. And for me, this one is perfect example of that bordering on the category because it's a tiny bit. We're talking about tannin, but it doesn't dry you out. It doesn't stop cloying.
I think it's also the distillery. We typically don't see this distillery in spicy.
Great point. Usually a fresh, vibrant fruit distillery.
Usually sits in juicy oak and vanilla.
Exactly right.
Light sprightly, or even going to spicy and sweet or deep rich and dry fruits.
Great point.
It very rarely sits here.
Some of the ones that are more akin to this are probably when, we've seen 35s in this profile. It's that light space side. Yeah, exactly right.
My personal favourites being, as we mentioned before, 18s and 59s.
59 is such a good code.
It's one. When I first started with the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, Adam interviewed me and asked me what my favourite flavour profiles would be, and I said, look, it's hard to pick, but I'd say top two would be spicy and dry and oily and coastal.
Yeah, that'd be my
top three. Annoyingly, they're the least frequent to see.
Well, I mean, if light and delicate would probably be young and sprightly, the least frequent. But I mean, Dave Gilks has put a great comment. Cresley Light for 48 with those worm tubs, and the herbal notes are pretty cool, interesting, and an unexpected dram. And I appreciate that, David, because that's why I picked it. It was something very different from any other Whisky Wanderers Festival cast that we're seeing. We've got a great lineup this year. There's 14 casts we've gotten, like a really good lineup as you'll see in the coming weeks. But it is very sherry heavy. It's peat heavy and spice and sweet heavy.
Dead right. Can I just pick up quickly on something that Bailey said there around wine drinkers understand the spicy and dry? I agree with that because, especially like wine drinkers who understand how tannin works with food, because I think spicy and dry is one of my favorite for food pairing. Because when you've got like something reasonably high in tannin, protein and tannin have an interaction where protein breaks tannin down. So if you're getting lots of like drying component in a whiskey or a wine or something that's high in tannin, if you pair that beautifully with some sort of meat of almost any kind, basically any protein, it'll really work well in a pairing.
Also, anything really rich or sweet,
exactly.
It works.
Cuts through
and it doesn't get lost. It's
absolutely right.
It's absolutely perfect for that.
So great call. And I think another point about Bailey's comments probably that it's that thing where it's got layers. If anything's got tannin, it's almost automatically got layers because tannin itself is kind of a flavour that's coming through. It creates a layer. And then you've got to find what's either underneath or above around the tannin because tannin is kind of a separate concept certainly within wine and within whiskey too.
And tannin also, it affects the palate in very different ways depending on the oak, especially when it comes to whiskey. Spirit absorbs tannin in a different way than wine would, and much more acutely, I would probably say.
I agree.
And so one of my favorite things to talk about is the French oak lift. When French oak whiskey hits the palate and you have this lift of tannin on the back of the palate and it dries it out so quickly, almost becomes tart and floral. But you lose a lot of that fatty oily sweetness.
Right. Yep.
Whereas this is the classic biscuity but tight American oak tannin.
Oh, spot on. And this is the thing with whiskey versus wine too. We have so much more to play with in terms of this. Great point from was David about the worm tub and the slightly heavier. This is first fill ex-bourbon, barrel as well. So a lot of that lift in the freshness certainly the vanillin freshness could just be pure barrel and it wasn't in the spirit to start with.
It's also, I'd forgotten, but it's 51.2%. Like it's quite a low ABV.
Yeah, good point.
Well. That explains why it sits in what I like to call perfect drinking strength.
Yeah.
48 to 52.
I'm about 50 to 55. I'm like a touch bigger, but I'm 100% with you. Yeah, agree.
Yeah, 48 to 52 is my perfect drinking strength. Absolutely incredible to see. And to that point, I was just thinking about the way I was talking about French oak, how it has this certain journey on the palate with tannin. American oak tends to have this blanketing kind of thing. It's kind of the same tannin across the palate, which is why people love it, because you're not expecting anything different.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And people will go, yeah, I love that. American oak bourbon cask, whatever. They know what they're talking about. We can all get the picture of it.
Yeah,
because it's relatively consistent.
Sits blanketing on the palate. It's great. Might be a couple of bubbles here and there, but it sits
exactly. Just quickly pausing on something, you've triggered a thought there, like about the ABV, because it is pretty cool that back to the Wandering Alchemy is 58.4. And, we often talk about, high ABV is a bit hot, or it's a bit too strong for me if you see it on a bottle. And my word in all the tastings I've ever said is ABV is the second thing that affects how strong something tastes. The first thing is how well the spirit is integrated.
Yeah.
So if you've got a blend like a Johnny Walker Red, my classic stand, no disrespect to Johnny Walker, it's got great place in whiskey. But as an example, 40% Johnny Walker Red tastes hotter than a lot of high ABV single casks, just because of that. It's being made, mass produced. The integration is not 100% on point. They're not testing making sure it tastes well integrated. They're doing it on production line. And so, it's secondary. So never be afraid of like a 58%. Try everything first before you add the water, because, we've all had 62% that drink like they're 48s.
One of my favorite society bottlings throws you curveballs. The 140, 140.4, I think.
It was
67.5, 68%.
That 3 years, 4 years old or something, wasn't it?
It was 4 years old.
4 years old. Yeah.
Does not drink like that at all. No. It is quite smooth, because it's just well integrated.
And another 140 that sits up there, which is one of my favorite 140s, is Cowpuncher Rodeo Dram.
Oh, another fantastic one.
And it's 66%, and it just drinks like a dream.
And what was the beautiful one we had that was, I think it was like worth hunting down. That was like 67.8%.
Yeah.
And it was 7 or 8 year old or something. Yeah. But then everyone who had it at anything I was ever at went, that's old and delicate.
That was that same year at Abbey as we had the frozen curveballs.
That was
a good batch.
No,
but you're exactly right. It's just about integration. Never be scared off by an ABV. It's just a stat.
And also, basically. Never be scared of adding water. The one thing to ever be concerned about is you can't take the water out.
Exactly. Wait till you got the right amount, and that's it.
And don't be scared about drinking your bottles either.
Never be scared of that.
Never.
I used to say there are 3 rules when adding water. You add water till it tastes good.
Yep.
Till you need to add more whiskey.
Yep.
You can always add more whiskey. It's true.
I can see where this is going.
Until you run out of whiskey.
Or the world runs out of water.
Speaking of, this cask is again available tonight. So scan the QR code, grab yours. It will be launching July our turn, this one.
Put it up.
So this is a month-long sneak preview.
I would say as well, just because of this profile, we've chatted a bit about spicy and dry. For me, anyway, I've put a few drops of water in. If you like spicy and dry, lower on the spice, avoid the water, I'd say. The water sort of amps up that the tannin component comes up a little bit, the oak component comes up a little bit, and that nice, I think it's a nice spice, but if you wanted to play that down, that sort of cinnamon stick and just really light bakery spice goes up as well. They amplifies with water. Yeah.
I
love it, dram. Love it.
Before we move on to the next dram, I would also like to say this is the only one out of the lot we'll taste over the 3 tasting packs that I haven't tasted so far.
Yeah.
And Adam did a great job of fitting this into something that was missing in the whole range. This is perfectly sat.
You should work for the society, Adam, mate.
You know what? I'll consider it. They've offered me a few times. I've turned it down. I'm like, you know what? Not for me.
I'm very, very, very happy with it.
No, I agree. I mean, especially for tonight, it was the perfect, we've gone from sort of that, we had the spicy and sweet and spicy and dry side by side. We're now going to the heavier and then the peated. So, great segue in the lineup.
Also knowing what was meant to be here this is the perfect replacement.
Perfect. Don't tell me.
We won't talk about it. But
Excellent.
Excellent.
But it was a 40-year-old Lefroy, everybody. But Adam cancelled that order because he's Adam.
Yeah, and it retailed for $300.
Yeah.
But the next one was described at the tasting of the whiskey in Almond as just a damn good sherried whiskey.
Yeah.
Like it's just straight down the line, a good sherried dram.
And this is it's a really good comment because rarer and rarer these days, but this is first fill, and full maturation, right?
Yeah. 11.59, and it's from a code. So that's the 11th distillery to join the society. 59th cask we bottled in that time. Because when would Distillery 11 have joined? Would have been early 86. Yeah. So that's incredible. I mean, the last 11 we saw, I believe, was the 20 Not Out.
Yeah.
Our 20th anniversary of Australia branch.
And that's been the story of it, to be honest. Parcels, there were a couple at the beginning. I remember massive gap, and then reasonably okay parcel came through, and then gap, and then now we're seeing a few more out.
Not even that. It's also certain distilleries just tend not to pass panel. Time and time again. 127 is a great example of that.
Oh yeah, true.
They just tend to not pass panel, but
when they pass,
when it hits, it hits. It took a very famous distillery, of which the society was owned by for a period of time, took them a lot longer to pass panel than they should have, and a lot of those casks, unfortunately, will never exist ever again.
Just on a side note, unrelated, how shit are giraffes? Yeah. They're pretty shit, are they?
Yeah.
Code, look it up. People know what I mean.
Anyway, the whiskey. Also,
this is actually full on. Again, sorry, Ads, talking about the Wandering Alchemy being that kind of, it's 10 years old and it's sort of new, but it tastes like that older style and it's a throwback. This is very indicative of full maturation sherry, which I'm enjoying because you just don't see it too much now.
No, and you know what? $169 for a retail bottle.
Yeah.
Which is just for a 9-year-old who said full mat Oloroso. Sorry, is it Oloroso or just sherry?
It's Oloroso. Yeah, it's Oloroso. Yeah.
That's right. Incredible.
Let's see. I haven't. Have you guys had a taste?
Not tonight.
It's funny that you said that the whiskey and element training, it just tastes like just straight up sherry whiskey.
On the
I
palate,
think
I agree.
It was Shane and me just sitting there agreeing about that same statement. Because I just went, look, this is no nonsense down the line, cherry whiskey.
Yeah, and it is.
And
it's sort of got that honey syrup, golden notes.
It's golden syrup. Golden syrup on damper,
It's just got that little tiny bit though of that sort of slightly dirtier funk that makes you know it's not PX. Do you know what I mean? Because it's very sweet, but it's just that
the walnut shells kicked around.
Yeah, it is Oloroso. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's got that walnut shells and acetone.
It's very grapey too. It's not quite. I've talked at a few tastings recently about that whole vinous thing that some get, where it's almost an Armagnac kind of flavour. This is not that, but it's got lots of grape going on.
I'm almost getting a whiskey barber. Sorry, not whiskey barber. That's the name for heresy.
Rum barber.
Sort of, that cake is just absolutely drenched in the custard.
My theory is that you eat a rum barber before all the tastings we host because
you bring it up every time.
You want to know something wild as well? I've only ever had a rum barber once in my life, and it was at Lilac Wine Bar in Cremorne.
Beautiful. It's sunk right in though.
That was made with whiskey.
Yeah. Probably was.
Oh, this is beautiful. This is as it develops too, the oxidization. I haven't put water in yet. It's got that slight meatiness, not a almost charcuterie. It's coming through now.
It's got that pork neck fat.
Correct. I was going to say Parma ham or something. Something is in there that I'm reaching for.
I knew that would perk your ears up.
Pure meats.
The other thing I find, so it's funny that it's marmalade pie.
Mm.
Marmalade is just mashed citrus, typically orange, grapefruit.
Because orange is special. And if you say orange jam, orange is like, don't call me that. I'm a marmalade, mate.
Yeah, but it's for me, it's the kumquats. It's that juicy, bitter. My grandmother always had a kumquat tree in her backyard in the 4 houses she lived in. I think she moved with it.
I see what you mean. She doesn't have an estate with 4 houses. I get you.
Just transplanted the tree every time.
Yeah. Anyway, I grew up just going, here, eat this. And you weren't allowed to spit it out. You had to eat the whole thing, just bite into it and just chew it. And that's what the kumquat acidity and astringency is there, but with the sweetness of that grapefruit marmalade on it.
The grapefruit's a great call. I love that story too, because to be honest, I've got a similar, like my grandmother had a similar thing going, but for me, it's green gages. You know, it was just a different tree, but it was like always we're eating green gages. And then when I get a whiskey with a green gauge element, I'm like, oh, that's nostalgia in a glass, you know, it's right there.
Yeah.
This is very interesting though, because it's got what I want from a sherried whiskey, but I am probably famous for saying, and I do love when society does bourbon cask for a while, finishes in sherry, because I feel like that beautiful American oak vanillin component is like the base, and then we add that red fruit, almost like a blending exercise, but just an extra maturation exercise. Yeah. But I've sometimes probably said, because full maturation sherry's oversaturated, whatever. But this one is not. And I think they probably pulled it out at like exactly the right time, because I can see that in maybe three more years might be a bit heavy on the sherry elements that dominate and overcrowd the spirit. But I'm still getting spirit character, which is pretty cool.
I also think this is a great example of good tannin.
Yeah.
Good tannin.
Yeah. Good tannin structure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely not that blanketing American oak. It's definitely European oak. It's not French oak.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Spanish oak because it's not got that really dark nuttiness to it.
Yeah. Definitely on the nose, I'm getting like a bit of that oak. Oak.
It's definitely European oak of some persuasion. Where it comes from, who knows? Maybe Sweden. Or
Norway. It's not. It's almost certainly not. I don't know what it is, but
should I be the first to say that also this is one of my favorite spirits I've had from this distillery specifically. It's a distillery I don't reach for. It's a distillery I don't really care for 90% of the time. And last time I saw an 11 from the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, I think I said this exact thing daily. This is the best spirit I've had from this distillery.
200 not out.
Yeah.
Which ironically is sitting in that archive over there right now. For those of you who don't realise it, we're actually sitting upstairs at Whisky Albert in Melbourne right now in their Melbourne Whisky Room.
Oh, is that where?
That is.
Yeah, we had a lot of drinks before coming here, so no, it's awesome here. And for Melbourne members, you'd be familiar with the backdrop, but for all members who are watching this from every state, drop by, because downstairs, one of the best lineups on a back bar, try out turn, and I don't need to sell you on this. Come and visit us and let us know you're coming, all that stuff.
Yeah, and if you're coming to Chance, you're one of those lucky people who got a ticket to the Australian Malt Whisky Tasting Championship this July. Friday night we are doing the pre-party for all ticket holders, and that is right here in this room with Andrew Derby hosting here, and myself and Lachlan just roaming around, and Alex as well.
I'll be here. We call that the party that gives Alex the justification that he didn't win the tasting because he was hungover. That's what we call that night.
Yeah.
So get ready. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
You're not actually competing though. So.
No, this year I'm not. So that's the real justification there. I don't want to be this guy, guys. I don't want to be because I'd never talk about this ever.
You're going to do that.
But I'm going to do that. $169.
No, it's insane. It's insane.
I don't
for
understand.
Full maturation sherry.
I never talk about price because, it's not a component of flavour, and I just love to focus on the flavour. But you can snag a bottle of that for $169, and it's 58, beautiful point, 58.3%, full maturation Oloroso, but disclosed Oloroso.
Yeah,
I don't understand that.
And you can do it tonight. We have.
I was segueing. I was not even setting that up. That was an organic.
Scan the QR code because it's not actually on the shop page right now, so you can only access it by scanning the QR code, and it won't be there tomorrow.
And that is why he mentions it so frequently. You need to scan the QR code, otherwise, you gotta wait.
Yeah, or technically watch the stream back. But again, not tomorrow because it won't be there.
That's right. Well, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Until Friday.
We have a window, guys, is what we're hearing. We have a very
it's
narrow
short, but
window.
very important window, okay?
Get on it.
Jump on it. Because you know what? We've only got 36 of these bottles. We've got 48 of this one in the country, and so they might fly off.
Before we move on to the last dram, I will also say that that kumquat note that I was talking about before, as it sits in the glass, it keeps growing and growing. It's juicy, it's astringent, but in a nice way. It's not overpowering. It's so citrusy. It just is growing on me. Becoming more nostalgic for me, I guess.
I was not expecting that, and I love, you get a dram you're not expecting, but I think I'm actually going to do some water and probably revisit towards the end after we've had dram number 5. I want to see how we go.
Yeah, before we move on to dram number 5, I was going to say we should go back to Wandering Alchemy.
Oh, we should.
You're out.
I'm out, but you've got a bit more.
Is there not?
I take no.
Get some more. Get some more.
Yeah, but what's the point of going back if it hasn't been sitting in the glass and
It's been oxidizing. That's been oxidizing. Wow, it's mustier and more old bottle effect than before.
Alex, I think Bailey's caught on to your secret code.
Oh yeah, he's got it. I knew someone would. Thanks, Bailey. It might only be you, mate, but otherwise, I'm hanging out there in the wind, aren't I? So
you and your 28-year-old.
Thank you. Used to that, by now.
Profile picture.
Yeah, I don't make South Park references ad nauseum, but whatever.
It's actually it's pronounced Adam, actually.
Adam nauseum. What? It is
That's
actually
unreal.
This is going back to this though. Even just freshly pouring it, it's super creamy. It's not that Campbelltown and Isla heavy petroleum notes. It's so creamy for me.
Oh, you should have a nose of this glass.
Oh yeah.
It is all like oil slick and it's slate fences.
No, for me, that doesn't have a strong nose, and 2, it's got a cinnamon syrup.
Mine's gone more that way, and I had thyme and water, which I don't think you didn't put water in that. Did you lock?
No. So we've got 3 different types of expressions.
Fresher,
for this one expression.
Watered. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's like an oil slick with slate fences in northern Scotland.
Mine is more of that old book, sort of like book library thing, like the Beauty and the Beast library vibe, and then which is just sort of an oak thing.
Were you in there?
I was there, mate. I was there. I am actually the beast. Yeah.
Not the candlestick.
No, actually, come on, mate. I'm the clock. I'm Cogsworth every day of the week, mate. We all know that.
Cogsworth. Yeah.
What was it? Chip? The crux
Chip was yeah. No, seriously. I mean, put a comment in if you don't think I'm Cogsworth. Wait for no comments to come in.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm just going to put up Wandering Alchemy
Chip.
one more time. I'll put up Wandering Alchemy one more time because seriously, this is such a good whiskey.
Yeah.
I think this might be my pick of the night, to be honest. And I'm definitely going to be buying a bottle.
It was
of this.
one of my picks out of the lot, if
I've
I'm
got to
honest, with maybe 1 or 2 exceptions.
I prefer if you're mostly honest, just quietly, but anyway.
I was doing the tasting with the 2 Whiskey Bros for those guys who follow the 2 Whiskey Bros reviews of Outturn Online, and I did guest reviewed, and this wasn't on that review, but they were with me when we were having this.
Yeah.
And just everyone was on that older whiskey style, and then as we did things, like a little bit more oxygen, a little bit more water, maybe it revealed that it was a little younger and there was some cool vibrant notes in there. But at the end of the day, like water, I think tonight splits it in 2 layers. You've got some nice old quality, but some really fresh vibrancy.
I've got something that I know that Bailey, if he's still on, I will know. After leaving that in the glass for a while, it's no longer that 90s Johnny Walker Black Label.
Yeah.
It's still Johnny Walker, though.
All right.
But it is the old duty-free exclusive cast strength Blue Label.
Oh, I drank quite a bit.
It's the 55.8%.
I can get
Blue
behind that.
Label, unchill filtered. It is just that.
Drunk out of decorative Johnny Walker glassware, my friend.
Yeah, in that liter bottle.
I'm with you.
It weighs half of your body.
It does. It's a solid glass. It's actually a really good point too around vatting and blending, right? Like because I agree. There's bits of it there, and when you've just got a good integrated blend, you kind of shouldn't really be able to pick all the bits of it. No. You should just kind of know a few little bits that are familiar, but if they've done a good job, there'll be a bit of mystery still in the blend, right?
it's all the pieces make something greater than the whole.
Exactly right.
You
Well
know?
put. Well put.
And that's what good blending is. You know, you shouldn't be able to sit there and go, "Oh, that tastes like."
Because you may as well drink single malt. Yeah, correct.
But you know, it's got all these other components in there. You should be able to just go, "No, that tastes like that whiskey."
Absolutely right.
And that tastes like Wandering Alchemy to me.
I'm revisiting all of them now.
All right.
So now we're on the revisit.
I
Should we just do 5 first?
I reckon
Let's do 5 first.
Let's
take
do
a trip to the aisle.
I'm excited about what the revisit will give, but let's do
162.2. Do you mind?
Brand new
162.2.
code for
An
Australian
island
brand.
sweetie shop. I forgot the name of it then for a minute, and that might help us out a bit.
An island sweetie shop. Peated 4-year-old first fill ex-Chinkapin.
Spoiler: it's from an island distillery. We know that. We know
Yes.
that because it's in the tasting notes. I
Yes, yeah.
wasn't spoiling anything really.
No.
Neither was
It's also
Chinkapin.
in the name.
That's where I was going, but I didn't even need that, you know. I love this. I think this is a really good. Oh, sorry, mate. Me and you have the same thought at the same time. I think sometimes because I reckon that you're about to say the same thing. But this is also a cool thing for Whisky Wanderers, where speaking of cask types, Chinkapin oak not very common.
No.
Certainly historically never saw any. And then new startup distilleries from Scotland and other places in the world.
I mean, the last time I saw a Chinkapin was a Distillery 1 just last year.
Yeah,
Which was Spicy and Sweet, I believe.
That's it. An extra maturation, that one.
It was, yes.
Yeah, it wasn't a full maturation. This is, as far as I'm aware, the only distillery with full maturation Chinkapin oak available on the market.
Yep. And I think their casking regime is roughly, sort of, this might not be right, but sort of, there's a 40-60 thing, but there's a massive commitment to Chinkapin in their normal fill structure.
Well, in my history in the industry, I've seen maybe outside of this distillery, I'd say about 7 or 8 Chinkapin oak releases.
Yep.
And most of them are finishes or extra maturations, either by the Society or Glenallachie. They do some.
Yeah.
And Teeling in Ireland. Okay. And that's basically it.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting to see these come to fruition through the Society. First of all, being one of the first 6 casks.
Yep.
Yeah. From 162, all for the Whisky Wanderers.
So all 6 casks were launched globally, and some branches got some casks. So we got .2 and .5, and I know the UK got .1, .3 and 4, or 3 and 6, or something like that.
Dead right, and like we did with some of the other ones in terms of the new distillery opens or relatively new opens, and then there was sort of a batch that were released at the same time. The Spirits team did a really cool thing when acquiring or adding the distillery to their profile and filled lots of different casks, different styles. So, Distillery 149 had the same thing where the first, 10 releases had a massively cool range of bourbon, sherry, peated bourbon, peated sherry, unpeated sherry. Same with these guys. There's a mix because I've had 162 I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 now over the last couple of months, and they're all very different. Very different.
To that point, I mean, what Bailey has said here, the new older whiskey from places like Harris, or just the new older whiskey in Scotland is so broad and so incredible. With obviously it started a little bit earlier than these distilleries that started making whiskey.
Great.
You've got your Kilhomans, your Wolf Burns. You've got Ardnamurchan, one of my personal favorites, alongside both of the other two. But they're all.
Your favorite.
No, I've got a familial interest.
True, you have a connection.
Yeah, I mean, my dad grew up across the river from it, so well before the distillery ever existed.
So, I derailed you. Sorry.
Anyway, but I mean, I love Kilhome and I love Ardnamurchan, but I'm really excited about this modern world of Scottish whiskey. The things that they're doing with distillation, yeast profiles, oak is exciting. There are so many distilleries that are stuck in tradition and they're just fitting the brief for what people expect from them or what blenders expect or, just what they have been making for hundreds of years.
Absolutely.
These distilleries don't have that. They can do what they want and experiment and
break
play
the mold.
around.
If the mold ever existed, break it.
And that is one of the reasons I have loved what you call the Lomans, 112, 122, 135, is because they were doing that even though they had the tradition, they had those expectations, but they just were like, well, you know what? Let's do some wine year stuff.
They're early adopters.
Yeah,
exactly.
Early
innovators. Yeah.
Let's fuck around.
Exactly.
So it's just that's it. I'm really excited about what's happening, and these so far the 162.2 and .5 are absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
I mean, I've just had another sip of this for the first time in a week, and I have to say it's a lot nicer, I thought, than the first time I had it. I enjoyed it the first time, but it just didn't really hit. Probably tonight, it's as Danny Brooks said, it's sort of got that meaty oiliness
definitely
to it, but it's also just got a bit of like smoked chicken drumsticks. Sort of notes to it, which I'm really enjoying.
Just on David's comment too, good news for you, my friend, is you will be able to try this unpeated
next week.
The spirit, in fact, but, and in this oak. But I think just an extension of what Adam was saying, the oak itself is adding something quite excellent to this. And, you sort of think, we know what bourbon tastes like. We know what sherry tastes like, broadly speaking. I think to the Chinkapin point and being reasonably new, it is adding a whole nother flavour dimension to cask maceration. Because for me, it adds like a spiciness. There's definitely a tannic thing, but, that's just like a bit like Mizunara sort of introduces that cedar wood and sandalwood with Mizunara for me.
And plum jam for Mizunara.
Yeah, exactly. Every time.
Yeah.
And then so Chinkapin will carve out its own space in the cask maturation world of, it usually gives you this, but then add on top of that, if more distilleries start using it, we can compare. But at the moment, again, today's point, we will see unpeated and peated, and it'll be very cool to see what the oak does in those two spirit types.
To add to that point, like I said before, I've only seen so far 8-ish releases from Chinkapin oak, and very few of them have been full maturation.
That's a good point.
Now, previously, what I had seen from Chinkapin in these finishes from Teeling and Glenallachie before, and actually it was even in that Society 1. It was Ferrero Rocher. That hazelnut, creamy, chocolatey. In full maturation, I'm seeing less of that. Maybe it's still there, but it's becoming
still a bit of that in the .5.
Yeah, I found it more in the .5 than I did in the
unpeated expression of 162.
I'm getting like maybe nuttiness and raw cocoa nib, and I can kind of see where you're going, but it's muted in this.
That cacao nib and roasted chestnuts almost, or hazelnut, but it's not creamy, it's not sweet, it's dry and dark. You know?
Yeah, and that's another really good point about things to do with. Is it peated or unpeated? Like some of those 149s were a bit confusing depending on what oak it was in a fun way. And this is the same. I think Chinkapin will very quickly carve out its place as something that gives that appearance of another flavour that is purely the oak. And whether it's as in something that usually comes from the spirit process and the way that the spirit is made, I'm getting so much roastiness. Which might, some might think, you can roast barley differently and create the flavour through the spirit. But it's the oak in Chinkapin that's doing it, right?
It's a very rare oak from America as well.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't, it almost became extinct. But it doesn't get used for bourbon. It doesn't get used for anything. So it's always just the oak you're saying.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
Thankfully, the whiskey industry is saving it.
Yeah.
It's very young.
Doesn't grow on trees.
But also, it sweetens up nicely. Like that,
it really does.
Almost like a tree sap resin going kind of a bit sweeter. It's
when I first
went down like the honey sweet barbecue. My sweetness that I got was more down that route.
I'm with you.
Candied almonds or sugared almonds.
It's definitely nutty, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's definitely nutty.
And big red bubblegum.
Ooh, I'll need a bit more time with that one. I agree. It's definitely a nutty dram, which is delicious, but I'll need some time with the.
I tend to leave the big red bubblegum note for Amberana, which is one of the oak adjacent woods that we tend to find very cinnamony, but it's still there on this one, I find.
Yeah. Notes of Fireball, if you're watching from home.
Please don't say Fireball.
It's actually called cinnamon for some people.
No, it's Fireball flavoured stuff.
Fireball flavoured candle.
Oh, Fireball's a dirty word.
We've become a meme right now.
Yeah. Okay, Becky. That 162.2 is a lot nicer. My second time trying it, and I'm really glad because
I'm gonna do water.
You know what? New code. It's a young whiskey, and a lot of people look at the young whiskeys and they're like, oh, maybe not. But honestly, and for $179 a bottle, this is an absolute killer. If you're a peated whiskey fan and like something a little bit different, you know.
Yeah.
Having a brain that kind of likes to pair things to beer all the time, and having been doing that for a long time, I know exactly what I want to pair this with.
Would you like to share with the class?
A handful ESB.
Extra
special bitter.
Yeah.
Like dark, ambery,
Get my
lightly bitter,
good malt profile.
Yeah,
malt profile's good.
but not too much carbonation.
Nothing fancy, just like straight down the line.
Yeah.
So I've actually added some water, as I've done with all of them, and just first blush, and we'll see how it develops.
Yeah.
Actually lessens the peat component.
Yeah, right, okay.
So if you are loving how beautifully almost smoked sort of meat component that was in the first non-watered pour, don't put water in if you want it to stay like that, because it's getting a little bit more mellowed with water.
The meatiness is like a Wagyu Brazola, like that funky.
Brazola is exactly where my head was at.
But the fattiness of Wagyu,
I like it. Yeah, no, it's actually very weird. I did 3 or 4 drops, and the that level has gone right down.
You got me into the water.
Yeah,
train.
no, it's just it's probably, if anything, amplifying the oakiness. Tannin hasn't gone up a heap, but it's the more just that sort of the violin box, that kind of concept we were talking about before.
It's very much those roasted chestnuts now.
Yeah, still very nutty. Yeah.
It's less of I find the complexity of the sweetness and stuff like that. I find it much more just roasted chestnuts, those sugared almonds.
Yeah. Isn't it like, if anyone's been to New York in cold weather and you are walking down the street and they're doing that chestnut roasting in the carts on the street, that is actually what it is.
Well,
or
funny enough,
QB building.
Yeah, there's one opposite.
Oh, is there one?
Library.
State library, sorry, not QB. Yeah.
Whatever. I go to New York. Whatever.
I knew I'd seen it somewhere.
Morsey's saying unreferable things.
With an empty, well, almost empty glass of this 162, it's almost honestly, it reminds me of a fresher 66. Like that sort of thing.
One of the younger, not recharred ones.
Yeah, I was going to say, nowhere near enough campfire for me, but I'm following where you're going. With it.
It's got the minerally slatey thing.
Yeah, it's
not slatey, limestone. It's very much limestoney.
So it's a little bit saline, but no, definitely not the campfire, Alex.
Yeah. Oh, it's actually it's just a lovely it's mixed nuts. It's beautiful. I love when you've got that with a little bit of the underlying fruit, because there is a bit of red fruit on it too coming through. But I
find it dries out so much after water.
Oh, 100%. Nuttiness, dry, sort of that salty, nutty component is what is amped up with a bit of water.
Yeah, but the sweet, the fruit is just
I think that's a good introduction to a brand new distillery code.
Yeah,
on Australian shores. Not too bad. We'll have part 2 next week with literally 162.5. I think it's the first whiskey in the lineup, which I believe was actually done on purpose.
Lighter profile, on.
So to be continued.
Yeah. Not that you have to continue, because standalone, ending with that one. I mean, John McShane and I have often joked about this. There's no right way to do a tasting lineup, but if you're talking about a good journey, well done, Adam and Lockie, because gone from that measured old. Don't take some credit, mate. Don't give it all to him.
He deserves the credit.
No, it's been a good journey, because ending on that, and it's pretty much echoing the comment we made. Look to New World for if you want that heavily peated, big bold flavour at the end, because if Distillery 33 gets harder to find, reach for something else that's got amazing peat, nut, smoke, whatever you're looking for, character, and embrace it.
Could be the future of Distillery 33.
Nope.
Nothing
Sorry, I was more going purist of 33 is 33, mate. What are you?
You're the one that started that conversation.
33 is 33. New codes will be new codes.
I mean, we did have a Sherry 33. I just thought, we don't need one.
No, I know what you mean. Well, I didn't knock the 40-year-old before he got the lineup, Adam. I'm making this true. That's not true, but I can fake news this all the way home.
Sorry, they don't know about the 20-year-old 33 yet.
No, that's pretty awesome. Well, I don't know if we're wrapping up, but I'm going to very quickly before we do.
Well,
now,
I've just gone back to the one
that.
alchemy.
I'm going back. Yeah, I'm going. We're doing the.
And it's like sort of a strawberry Big M creaminess for me.
Yeah, there's also a bit of the mocha there, kind of.
Yeah, like
I'm actually getting more chocolate now.
Yeah, mocha coffee.
I've moved to the Norwegian wood just because different amounts in different glasses, and I did have water in that sitting there, just a couple of drops the whole time, but that has gone incredibly back from the sourdough. It's done a bell curve.
This is much more
for me now.
No, see, this is much more your peach SBC for me.
Yeah, that's where it's gone to for me as well. It's burying the lead on the sourdough.
Yeah.
I'm not getting peach SPC. I'm getting peach something else though. I can't quite put my
For me, it's peach tartare and tin peach juice.
I think I'm leaning more to the tartare.
Yeah.
I'm getting, to be honest, those peach lollies that like with the sugar at the bottom of the lolly bag. Those like
peach and cream.
Peach and cream.
I'm thinking of peach iced tea. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah,
no, that's it.
Lipton peach iced tea. That's the one.
That's it.
That's what I'm getting more of now.
That's a great call.
Look at us crowd working.
That is what it is though. I mean, that is definitely what it is.
Yeah. But it's so peachy. I mean, it's so syrupy and sweet and.
But it's like a thin syrup now.
100%.
Which is that Lipton peach iced tea.
And this is like spot on, and this is the wonder of it, right? Because when you get that millions of peaches, which was pure fresh peach and syrupy peaches in a tin kind of thing, this is a different style, and they are like noticeably different when you think about.
But on the palate, it's still got that sourdough bready.
It does. It does.
It's almost like if you were to have pancakes with roasted peaches.
Yeah, great call, because it definitely has that
like
yeasty,
pan-fried peaches.
Yeah, something bakery cooked in there with yeast, definitely. Yeah.
I'm just going to jump to 48 because I've gotten two very wildly different notes on this sort of semi-empty glass, and one of them is basically like just walking into a dingy Chinese takeaway shop and just like noodles cooking in the background and some black bean sauce. But the one I just got now, which I think is a little bit more realistic, is when you put your face and your nose into a bag of snakes, like the lolly snakes, and you just like absorb all that energy, and it's sort of dusty.
I'm with you, and I'm annoyed because I wish I had it, and it's not snakes for me, but I just can't quite pick it. It's
Frogs.
You know what it is? It's the pineapple lollies for me.
Yeah, the pineapple lumps. Yeah.
With that little bit of, those ones that have the yellow on the front, but then the white on the back, so they've got that sort of milk bottle element, like the lactose element.
Yeah.
Those pineapple ones that are sort of a bit more, a bit less pineapple.
It's the green snakes. It's the pineapple lumps and the peaches and their strawberries and creams.
Yeah, the strawberries and creams. Yeah, because that lactose sort of the milk bottle bit on that lolly, but
with a little bit of cola bottle going on.
Yeah, I get that a little bit actually.
Yeah,
it has got that touch of effervescence the whole way through too. Like
it smells like if you're the CO2 that comes off like a bottle of Coke being opened.
11.59 now is just honey lathered onto cardboard for me.
Honey lathered onto cardboard.
Yeah,
you should seriously name more bottles, mate. You should not be on the tasting panel, but you should be on like the bottle naming panel, where it's like, Adam, this is what we've come up with, mate. Give us a name.
Every morning, I call him at 7 a.m. Cardboard and honey.
I'm pretty sure I was on a tasting with Jim McEwen once, and he sort of was innocently asking me what colour I saw on the whiskey, just like to have a chat. And I was so in the society mindset. I went, it's like the sunset on the Mafia Bay chip. And he went, it's basically fucking yellow, isn't it? Yep, that's what I said.
You call a spade, right?
If you want to condense, my artistry.
Forgot where I was.
I also, has anyone seen a yellow sunset on Mafia Bay?
No, mate, I was pretty drunk, if I'm honest. It was the end of the day.
I've named one society whiskey actually to date. So you know what?
I think you should literally there should be a separate committee just for you to screen names, and then adjust them to an Australian name. America adjust the names. You should be our Australian name adjuster.
I screened the name for our 2025 gathering cask. I screened the name for. I mean, they named it. and I'm like, yeah, okay, this is adequate.
That's you're in approved.
So that's one and a half bottles I've named basically.
Yeah. That's good. I reckon seriously. Well, I mean, this isn't just okay. You've now reminded me of a very eclectic fact. We used to have local tasting panel
yes.
back in the day. You know, a lot of the old outturns that members on the virtual will remember if you're around probably about 2000 and even 12 backwards. Local tasting notes. Opened every bottle, put our local notes in, and so you didn't see so much of this, you know, Tunnock's tea cakes and Dolly mix and all that kind of stuff, which is UK confectionery.
Yeah.
We just adapted it. So now we get members all the time at tastings, well, all of us do, going, oh, you know, what is a XYZ? You know, because we love the UK panel notes, but they are not adapted anymore.
No.
So I think, Adam, you are now the official, in my mind, Australian adapter. So everything that says Marmite,
just plug me in.
You can say you can say sweet Vegemite, and we'll live with it.
Well,
Yeah,
as I
brought you at an airport, so
what voltage? So you're saying I'm overpriced?
You, my friend, are worth every penny.
All right. Well, I think on that note of me being worth every penny, I think we can call it a night. So thank you everyone for tuning in to Off the Beaten Track, our first in a series of 3 Whisky Wanderers Festival tasting.
Yes.
packs. So tune in next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time for tasting number 2, The Path Less Trodden.
Yes,
there are still tasting packs available, so if you grab them in the next few days, they'll probably arrive, depending on where you are in Australia, in time for it. So jump onto those. If you haven't bought tickets to your local SMWS Whisky Wanderers Festival event, tasting, dinner, micro festival, jump on now. Literally every single state where there is a society presence, there is an event. Launceston, Hobart, Perth, Adelaide, Brisbane, Canberra, Melbourne, Sydney.
And for those in Perth, I'm very excited to see you guys next week.
First time that Lachlan will be going to Perth under the SMWS banner,
or just in general.
Come down. I didn't know your travel history, but there we go. For the first time ever as well, make him feel welcome. Jump on, grab your tickets. There's going to be 8 Whisky Wanderers drams on pour. And it's just going to be a great time to hang around and chat with you. Yeah.
Alternative plan, if everyone in Perth wants to fly to Melbourne for the exact event day that Lachlan's over there, let's rib him on that. But if you don't, just see Lachlan in Perth. There's enough Melbourne members. I can see you guys as well for our amazing festival event where you get to try all the Whisky Wanderers. Lachlan will also be there.
It's not the exact same day.
It's not the same day, so Lachlan can come back for that.
21st of June, and 28th of June, we've got Melbourne and Sydney respectively. Full festival tastings, full afternoons. Every 14 plus a few extra ones.
And mini masterclasses.
Micro masterclasses, and free-flowing canapes and such. So there's a few tickets left for those. Those are selling fast. I think Sydney has 8 tickets left at the moment, and Melbourne I think has less than 20.
Yeah.
But considering we have over 100 guests coming, that's not a lot of tickets left. So they are steadily going. So you haven't secured yours yet? Jump on them. Yeah. I think Adelaide has less than 10. Brisbane has less than 10 left. Hobart, Launceston, got some great dinners that Tom Roth has organised. Jump on them. We'll see you all soon. Alex, Lachlan, thank you for joining.
Thank you, gents.
And we should all thank Adam for putting these all together.
Indeed.
Cheers.
Sláinte. Sláinte.
Enjoy your evenings.